wines have been around since 2007. That's when Chris and Andrea Mullineux founded this amazing wine label that has won numerous accolades and continues to really perform excellence in the wine industry, not only in South Africa, but globally as well. We caught up with Carrie Adams to hear her thoughts about what makes Mullineux such a special wine.
Swartland is a warmer region than most in the South African wine landscape. It used to be home to a lot of the cooperatives that bottled good quality wine at really, really low prices that you and I would be used to. And as a result of it having been around for quite so long, and lots of growers there who used to sell their grapes to the cooperatives, the vineyards are old that produce character-filled, textured, layered bottles of wine. Andrea and Chris have to be our quintessential power wine couple in South Africa. They make and grow and age and taste and everything their wines. It's a pretty much home industry. But if I were really to name my favorite, it has to be Oloroso, their sticky wine. It's just to die. It's an extraordinarily specialized process, not only done in South Africa, done all over the world, but we happen to do it particularly well. And the Mullineux happen to do it extraordinarily well. So if ever you have the opportunity to buy a bottle of Mullineux Oloroso, do so. It's very special.
Carrie Adams, wine expert extraordinaire, thank you so much for your insights, and you've certainly whet my appetite. I think it's time I head to the Western Cape to find out for myself what makes Mullineux such a special wine.
We're in Franschhoek at the moment. We, as Mullineux and New Family Wines, have two wineries, one in the Swartland region just outside Riebeek Kasteel, where we make with wines focused on Chenin Blanc and Syrah. Today we're in Franschhoek at our Lupusant winery, which is on the beautiful Leu Estate, an amazing hospitality resort. And this is where we focus more on Chardonnay and Cabernet. So today we're at the Lupusant winery.
Yeah, I grew up in California, just outside San Francisco. My grandparents originally came from Italy, so wine and food was a huge part of the culture around the dinner table. And from a young age, I just absolutely adored the concept of the art and science combination. How does that get into the glass? How does it bring you so much pleasure? Just the cultural aspects around wine is what wrapped me into it.
Yeah, so I was born in Cape Town but grew up in Johannesburg, so not in the wine industry at all.
Yeah.
And just fortuitously came and studied at Stellenbosch. Yeah, just fell in love with wine in general, and then one day discovered that you could study winemaking. Immediately knew that was for me. I was totally in love with the industry, and to know that you could make a career was just a no-brainer for me.
I absolutely adored that combination of science, art, wine, culture, travel, family. So for me, it was ingrained, and I definitely knew from when I was a teenager that is what I wanted to study. I grew up drinking a lot of Californian wine, studying winemaking in California. But the best bottle of wine is when it's the right grape variety planted on the right soil types in the right environment. So whether you're drinking Chardonnay in California or Chardonnay in South Africa, as long as they both highlight where they're from to the best degree, then it's a wine that I'm definitely going to drink.
I have a funny story. I was on vacation in Moremi in the Okavango Delta. A guy joined us who happened to be a winemaker, and he didn't bring any clothes for the week. He just brought a suitcase full of wine. And every night we had a blind wine tasting around the campfire.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know much about wine then at all, but we would taste a Cabernet and a Shiraz and a Merlot all blind. And by the end of that trip, I could tell the difference between this was a Cabernet, this was a Merlot. And I was hooked. I was like, wow, if grape varieties can taste so different and you can spot it. It was like, that was my aha moment.
A lot of it's gut feel and the art behind it, but even if people don't want to admit it, the science that's happening is what's actively making the wine. I call myself the winemaker, but it's the yeast that are in the barrels that are doing those active fermentations, and it's about how can you connect the art and the love and the gut feel and the nature with the rest of science. I mean, nature in itself is science, but how do you connect that with the art and the natural feeling? That's what is the difference between being a winemaker and a great winemaker. Because neither of us came from winemaking families, we had the opportunity to study winemaking and then travel the world for a few years. We're very lucky to have met when we were both working in the south of France, and we did a lot of inspirational weekends away together to taste the wines that we loved, and we realized that we had a great connection. I'd already been to South Africa, thought it was a great country, and we decided to come back here, and then in 2007 decided that we wanted to start the winery together.
And we really saw that we gelled so well together. We've got the same taste in wine, the same belief in how wine should be made. Yeah, I think if Andrea liked to make a certain style of wine and I liked a different style, we would have had to start completely different wineries.
Yeah.
Because you literally, it's important decisions that you have to make together and trust each other to do. It's about having a focus, knowing what you have to work with, and getting the best out of that. It really is. We both are trained, scientifically as winemakers, but the art is letting that place shine through, letting the vineyard express itself in the wine. So, it's like having two different children, and the one has a certain personality and the other another, and it's caring for them both equally, but letting them shine in different ways. And I think we have a very high level of scientific knowledge, but it's that ability to stand back and not interfere. I think that's important. So yeah, really just again, in Franschhoek, we don't work with Syrah here, we don't work with Chenin here.
Yes.
We work with the grapes that belong here. Yeah. So it's again trying to do the right thing in the right place, and then you're starting from a stable base, and then let the hard work start. For us, it was a very cool year. So where we are in the Swartland especially, it's a very warm, very dry place.
Yes.
So the season is quite short. We have to pick the grapes in February. But this year we were picking in March, which is very late for us. So there was extra time that the vines had to ripen the grapes, develop more flavor, more complexity of different flavors in the wine.
Yeah.
So, without more alcohol. So it's still normal alcohol levels, but just much more intensity and flavor. So that very cool, long growing season for us was very exciting. Swartland white wines are known by what we call texture, which is weight on the palate, almost a creaminess. Yeah, so it's amazing because it's a wine from a warm, dry place, which has power, but it also has energy, freshness, and balance.
In white wines, they go into the barrel, they do the fermentation there, they spend a lot more downtime away from the winemaker. So in that way, it's a little bit harder to kind of see what's happening every day. With the red wine, it's more winemaker interaction with the grapes, and that's where you really have to start listening to what the grapes want. So it's about every day having it speak to you, you hear what it wants, and you give that back to it.
And it's much more physical. Every day you're working the grapes, so you're physically working with red wine more.
But we only work with vineyards where it feels good to be standing in the vineyard. When you stand there, you don't want to leave the vineyard, and that's always a good sign that it's healthy grapes, you're spending more time in the vineyard, therefore it inherently will bring more attention back to the vineyard.
So Cinsault is interesting when the vines are young. It's a very productive grape variety. It makes a lot of grapes, and the bunches are like big rugby balls. They're these huge grape bunches with big berries, and the wine can be quite light and delicate. But as the vines get older, the bunches get smaller, the berries get smaller, and you make wine with a lot more density and concentration. So it's a fascinating grape variety with a lot of heritage. It's really a special variety for South Africa.
It's lovely, yeah.
It's more about balancing weight and texture with what you're eating and with the wine. Wine and food should always complement each other, but we never want to make a wine where you say, you need food with this. We want you to desire food with it.
We're a 14-year-old winery. We've gone through a lot of growth, and we're kind of in a phase, as Andrew said earlier, of really rethinking everything and making sure everything we're doing is really sustainable. Really trying to refine our farming, the winemaking, where we're selling wine, how we're selling the wines also. COVID has opened up new ways of communicating with people, doing wine tasting. So really just trying to refine how we do things rather than new things all the time. And also, I think the one thing for me, we actually collect memorabilia about things like that. So we still in our office have, I don't know if you know Jancis Robinson.
Yes.
So our very first vintage of the first wine we tasted, she wrote the most amazing review, and I walked into a wine shop in London and they had printed it out on their letterhead as like a review for the wine. And I asked the shop owner, can I take that? And we've still got that framed in our office.
Oh,
and
wow.
she actually served that wine at her son's wedding like 5 years later.
That's what a lovely compliment.
Yeah, so it's fantastic things.
Andrea and Chris,
Cheers,
charge your glass there, Chris.
there
Put in some wine. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Thank you for sharing the story.
Cheers, Aki.
Cheers. And good luck in the future to Mullineux Wines. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. We have an incredible team of super loyal and dedicated employees at Mullineux Family Wines, and we wanted to reward and pay them back for this loyalty and hard work.
We wanted to make them part of something bigger, something greater. And so we started the Great Heart brand as part of an employee upliftment project.
And we wanted to empower them by giving them ownership of their own project, a brand that belongs to them and will benefit them directly.
People who have worked for us for more than 2 years become shareholders in Great Heart Wines. So the Great Heart wines are made with the same vineyards that go into Mullineux and Liu family wines, and with the same attention to detail and the aspiration to be classy, very sophisticated wines.
And that's the wonderful story of Chris and Andrea Mullineux, and what a fantastic initiative Great Heart Wine is. So do support it. If you've enjoyed this episode of Next Up, do hit that subscribe button, please hit the like button and share the video with your friends. And don't forget to hit that bell notification. You get alerted every time a new video goes up. See you soon on Next Up.